nuclear power plants, which are being extended by at least 12 years. And the last pressure test is being carried out on BP's damaged oil well in the Gulf of Mexico before it's declared permanently sealed. The well's closure will end a 5-month battle for BP after the rig exploded. Those are the headlines on BBC World News.
Now on BBC World News, a monthly look at business across the African continent, with reports on trends and latest developments from BBC correspondents on the ground and interviews with people who are changing the economic face of the continent. Africa Business Report.
Africa Business Report in association with Skybank.
Welcome to Africa Business Report with me, Egon Kosu. We're in Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia. Ethiopia has one of the fastest growing economies in the whole of Africa. But how do you translate that into real gains for ordinary people? Also in the programme, something to shout about. The exchange trying to streamline Ethiopia's agriculture. Star power, the Nigerian firms turning to celebrity endorsement to bolster the bottom line. And bouncing back, why Ivory Coast is turning to rubber to boost its fortunes. All that and more on this edition of Africa Business Report. This economy is expected to grow by about 11% this year, which is pretty impressive. But don't forget, this is still one of the poorest countries anywhere on earth. So how do you turn all of that growth into real prosperity? The answer could lie in efforts to sort this out, the nightmare traffic choking the roads of Addis. Most of these cars are imports. They assault the ear, the nose, and of course, the environment. And because they're brought in from overseas at great expense, they're also an assault on the economy. Well, the company behind this car thinks it's able to solve both problems. It intends to start making the Abai car right here in Ethiopia. That would help boost the anemic manufacturing sector, but the benefits don't stop there. The car also runs on gas produced by organic waste, and so cuts down on pollution. Now, I've just driven in here powered by biogas, and to switch to petrol it's a pretty simple matter. You press that button and you're now ready to roll on conventional fuel. What there isn't, though, is a button to ensure a readily available supply of cheap investment cash. The really conservative nature of financing here means that that cash is pretty hard to come by, and that could act as a brake on development. It's hard for this and other Ethiopian firms to get hold of foreign cash. Overseas banks aren't allowed to operate here.
Here is a tank we are using to put biogas in the system.
The man behind the car is Tadesse Tessema, a recent returnee from the Netherlands. He says going to local banks isn't necessarily the answer.
Most of them, local banks, are giving money for operational costs, not initial investment. And most of them are short-term loans, talking about 3-4 years. You have to pay everything back.
But despite this, the company is determined to press ahead with developing manufacturing muscle, adding new buildings and new equipment.
Currently, we are importing almost all goods from outside. And the foreign currency, which is, we have some foreign currency problem. And by manufacturing locally, we can save foreign currency, and also we will be able to create more jobs and also to bring new technology to Ethiopia, and also being possible to export to foreign countries.
So the company isn't going to make just cars. It's going to be churning out another product designed to tackle chronic traffic, a so-called city bus designed to take on the rigours of Addis and other African cities. And it too will be a green machine.
Once this thing is built, it'll carry up to 200 passengers, and the engine which will go there will eventually run on biogas. But the ambitions don't end there. There are plans to export this bus to other parts of Africa.
What we're doing is we're constructing a
The
prototype.
company will produce its own biogas to run both the bus and the car. Will it be able to keep up with demand, though?
We need about 40,000 tons of high-quality solid waste per year. Now, as we've discussed with the Addis Ababa solid waste authorities, currently the generation of solid waste in Addis Ababa is about 200,000 tons per year. So by using only a quarter of the waste that's available, we can meet our target of generating enough fuel for those 2,000 cars.
What happens after that, though? Surely you're not going to cut off at 2,000 cars.
Well, the economics are such that the capital investment is high. So we want to start with that goal, make sure that everything is as we expect, and then certainly there's great potential for expansion. I mean, ideally we'd like to use all of the solid waste to generate fuel because it's a much more positive outcome than putting it in a landfill or a dump.
As things stand, the green revolution is a long way from sparking an industrial revolution here. But it's clear that as the country drives towards greater self-sufficiency, manufacturing will play an increasingly important role.
Ethiopia is famed for its gold. In fact, it's one of the country's biggest exports. Over in Ivory Coast, though, there's a hunt for so-called white gold.